I'm a way different person when I show up every day. I speak differently. The conversations I've had with other guys, it's just different conversations, so that's just come from mindset and the confidence I've built around that too. Like I've got confidence in my belief system and the confidence what I can achieve personally.
Hi everyone, Rob Crop and Dan Stones here from Pravar Group, and welcome back to another episode of The Trade Den. Good to have you back, Dan. How are you?
Hey Rob, very good to be back. Looking forward to today, another client feature. We've had some rippers lately and today's going to be no exception, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we, what do you think, Dan? Should we give Grant a big warm welcome?
Yeah, cue the streamers and the whistles and all that sort of stuff. Grant Hateley from Hateley Construct, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks guys. Thanks for having me on. A long time listener, so when I got the nod to come on, I was all about it.
You were keen. You were ready for a live session. You were even like, can we record it in person, which is rare, but we like that attitude. We like that positivity. It was good to see.
Yeah.
Excellent. Hey, let's kick in with just getting to know you a bit. So where are you situated? Tell us a little bit about growing up, and the business you're in. So just sort of let's get to know you a little bit to start with.
Yeah, so Grant Hateley, business is Hateley Construct. We are doing kind of custom builds in the Golden Valley, typically doing 4 to 5 houses a year, and got a team of 15 now. So it's going good.
That's a bit of an understatement, I think, Rob. They're pretty schmick houses. If you look at some of the socials and the videos that go up, they're pretty good, aren't
they? Yeah, you guys do some beautiful work, and you've we'll no doubt get into the stories today around the awards you won and the epic results you've achieved over the last couple of years. A bit about you personally, mate. Tell us a bit about you as a young fella. What was Grant like?
Yeah, so I grew up on a farm just between Seymour and the Gambie. So obviously typical farm boy growing up, but was all into my sports, playing footy and cricket. They were pretty big in my teens. But growing up, the farm was the family farm was a 400-acre farm along the Goulburn River. So it's very fortunate to grow up on the property that we did. Learned a lot about just working. Work ethic and all that kind of stuff. There's lifelong lessons. Yeah, growing up on the farm. But
so were you an active kid? Was it? I'm imagining all kinds of adventures during days and sort of running around, or were you a farm worker kid? Like, were you literally doing jobs all day?
Yeah, like during the high school years, like I'd get home, even probably primary school. I'd get home from school. I'd pick up the bike from the bus stop and race home, change my clothes into my farm clothes, and then off I'd go to find the old man. He would work. Yeah, he'd be always out working. So they were the good days back then growing up on the farm. And I'd always just go home, get the dog and tie him on the front of my bike, and usually he'd hear the other dog barking and he'd tow me up to the shed and yeah.
Nice. Excellent. Have you got brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I've got two older sisters. I'm the youngest, so a bit of a mother's boy growing up. But yeah.
Nice. And school, what sort of student were we talking about? Was it a race to get home, or did you like to hang around? Or was it a race to get onto the footy field or the cricket pitch?
High school. Oh, the high school days. I never really liked high school. I always wanted to go to school, but I wasn't a grade student. Hated English. I've got a fond memory of my sister doing my Montana essay for me. My sister was an A+ student, and when I had to do the essay for Montana, I couldn't even read the book. I wouldn't be able to tell you what it was about. But my sister wrote an essay for me, and she had to dumb it down a little bit to make it not so much to realise that the teachers didn't know that I didn't write it, but yeah, not too obvious. But I got a B+ for that and passed. But Then maths I was never really good at maths at high school. I call it dumb maths, but I think it was called VCAL maths. I did VCAL maths during high school, but so I was an okay student. I liked the sports, I liked the tech side of things. I did all the the woodworking, the automotive, and the sheet metal. That was what I really enjoyed about school, was the just all the tech. I went to a tech high school, so parents didn't waste any money sending me to any private schools like my sisters went to. But so that was probably the bit I enjoyed about high school, was the tech side of things.
Nice. Did you have an eye on a trade as you were doing that, or was just the thing you liked and you couldn't wait to get out of school and you'd figure it all out later on? Was there a drive to get into trade?
Well, I always thought I was going to be a farmer growing up, to be honest, but probably getting into my teens and then seeing what our family dynamic was, with Dad just working 7 days a week, and we'd cut hay on Christmas Day and all that kind of stuff. So being a farmer, getting out of going through my high school years, it was talked about. I'm pretty sure it was talked about, but I think we would have had to sell the farm to get a bigger farm for both of us to be able to work on it. It wasn't big enough for both of us to make an income. So, but yeah, I think it was more just the social life of the farm that I didn't like. Like for the old man, it was, if the old man didn't have a sport, like he was just stuck on the farm. So, and during high school, I did some work experience I was more into during the high school years, I was probably more into metal, to be honest. I taught myself how to weld when I was like 10 or 12. I was up in the shed just, making roll bars in the back of my paddock basher and all that kind of stuff, and making workbenches and stuff out of scrap steel or I built a skate ramp for home. But probably metalwork was probably my select choice, and that's where I did most of my work experience going through high school, was doing metalwork. And it wasn't until end of year, it would have been year 11, I think. I did halfway through year 11 in the mid-year break. I went and did 2 weeks of work experience with a local builder and loved it. I actually vividly remember, I even vividly remember the job site and what I actually had to do on that day. And one thing that struck with me was the most important room to get right is a toilet. And it still sticks with me today, because a client sits down at the toilet and they are looking right at your work. So that still stays with me today. And that was on literally my introduction to building was that. And then at the end of year 11, I went and did another 2 weeks in the school holidays, and another 2 weeks, and he offered me an apprenticeship. And obviously I was underage, so he sent me to do I did a pre-apprenticeship, I think it was called. It was like a 3-month pre-apprenticeship, which I did up in Shepparton. I went back to school on first day of year 12 and said I'm not coming back with an apprenticeship, and pretty much left school. So I was 17. I didn't turn 18 until August, so I was 17 and didn't have a license. So the first 3 months with a tutor, doing the pre-app, probably was like around Easter, I think that finished up. And then I'd get picked up, or my parents would drop me at work till I got my license. Yeah, but that's how I got into building, was just with a local reputable guy that my old man played cricket with.
Was it love at first sight at that point? Like, was it then you obviously liked the first experience? Did that hold, or did you have any aspirations, or did it ever wobble, or was it like this? I've found my place and I'm ready to kick on.
Once I started, and probably what I did love about it was just the being around the guys on site. Like, rather than being on the farm, the old man was just in the tractor by himself with his thoughts all day. Where I just loved that social side of things. I was a social kid anyway during high school, so I really liked the social side of being at work as an apprentice as well. And it was clean. It was clean work. And what I didn't like about metal, you'd burn yourself welding, or you come home and got grease all over. It was just I did some bit of a pretty cool.
Not down for that. When did the first glimmer of I want to start my own company madness start for you?
So fast forwarding through my apprenticeship, And probably when I look back at my apprenticeship now, and even just coming out of my apprenticeship, I stayed with Craig for 2 years after my apprenticeship, or 2 or 3 years, but there was no kind of growth. There was no growth. No offense to him, but there was no growth within his company, and I outgrew him pretty quick. So it was a bit of a natural kind of flip to go do my own thing, and I was probably I'm a very ambitious person and always wanted to do better. And I think at that point, at the end of my apprenticeship, I loved building by that point. Like I loved it. Like I still love it today. But towards my end of my time with Craig, he was starting to get into the bit more of the custom architectural kind of builds. I think I did 2 for him at the end over just your cookie cutter, brick veneer kind of standard houses. And that's probably where my passion lied then was, it still is now obviously, but was just that more the custom stuff. And yeah, when I left him, I went down to Melbourne and did a bit of work down there and worked with another guy, and we we're just subbing around a little bit. And then it was 2020, I was 25. So 2 years before that, it took me 2 years to get registered. Then I got registered when I was 25. But I started small, really. Like my first job contract was like 250 grand or 350, I think. And then it was just a really slow progression. It was just me and another bloke at that point, me and an apprentice. Yeah.
Did you get any sense of it was a trouble? It was what you were going to stick with? Like how did you balance? I suppose my question is, how did you balance the ambition with the identity of you being a builder? You'd already been a builder. How did you come up with this idea that it's time to step up in the first instance and grow this business or become more of a business owner than a tradie?
Well, at the start, when I think about business, I wish I knew coaching was the thing when I first started, but I could definitely say I wasted the first, I've been registered for 11 years now. The first 5 years, I've really just worked for wages because that's, when I first started, the only thing that I knew how to build a house. I had no idea about business, and I think even when I started coaching, I didn't even know how to read a P&L properly or anything like that. So I just really just fluffed the first 5 years and just working for wages. Back then I was charging 10%. This is like rebel like this one. I was charging 10% or 12% markup on my jobs, and really didn't have any idea about operating expenses and overheads, and I was just the more you worked, the more you got paid, sort of thing. That was that's the thing that kind of got me through, was just that work ethic I had from growing up on the farm, watching my old man work, was just I would just work. And when I was probably in my first years, I remember I was single at the time. I'd get home at 4 or 5 o'clock, have dinner, and then I'd sit in the office till I'd actually get a bit of a run on when you stop texting girls and all that kind of stuff at 9:30 and they go to bed. I'd get a crack on and work from 10 till midnight. That's when I just did most of my stuff, and then go to sleep for 5 hours, get up and just do it all again. That was life. Yeah, pretty. I loved it. Didn't know anything different, and I didn't know how. At that point, I didn't have any. At that point, I didn't have any really pain problems. I didn't have any real overheads in the business, so I was just kind of I was just getting paid for my work, and my overheads were just paying my overheads, but I didn't really know what overheads were back then. But then I had the opportunity in 2018 to build a winery, local winery, Fowles Wine. That was the kicker. So that was the thing that really boosted us. But I built that winery on a handshake agreement, which is pretty crazy to think about. And I just set really good hourly rates. And how I was making the money was off the hourly rates, really, because I built a team. I think we had 6 or 7 chippies on site every single day. So I did quite well of it. I didn't get rich off it, but that was that really put us on the map, that build, and I got a lot of exposure from that. We built Fowles Wine when I was the man. I kind of got another couple of jobs straight off the back of just getting that job. But that's when the pain started coming, because I had a team, I had overheads, and I didn't know how to manage it, didn't know how to manage the team. Just rock up on site and let's just get into it, sort of thing. So
Yeah, well, you would have been the mindset that we see all the time, hey Rob, about the longer and harder I work, the more money I make. It's the epitome of where a lot of guys find us.
Yeah, definitely, and especially for a builder, there's always that one. There's that one job that becomes a turning point, and that was for you. I remember that was the job. That was just before you got into coaching from memory, and it was a bit of a marquee job in the local area. You did a beautiful job, like incredible quality. The workmanship was amazing. You got featured for some stuff in it, and you're right. That was the demand increased. The pipeline started filling up, that you had people in around you, and all of a sudden it's like, hang on a second, we're starting to run a real business here, and this is where the wheels kind of fell off, and that was the situation you found yourself in, wasn't it?
yeah, and I was that typical wearing all your hats, but I didn't know that. I didn't know I was wearing all the hats because I just didn't know. You don't know what you don't know, and that's why I was estimating at night time. I think my sister may have been helping me do the books at that point. And I even remember going to the accountants. I actually took my dad to the accountant because I didn't even understand, we we're just losing money, hemorrhaging money. And I've sat down, and he's like, you made a loss, and I just couldn't comprehend it. I just didn't know what was going wrong. And I think probably after that meeting, I just look around, I look at other builders, not in our area, because I think the builders in our area have not really gone super well. They're just the old school kind of builders. But I looked at other builders and, follow guys on Instagram and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, we just had that thing of, how did they get there? How did they get there? And then coming into coaching, I didn't even, so how that kind of come about, it was actually Proline's feature they did. That just spoke to me. Obviously clicked on the link to getting on a call with Rob, and I remember that call with Rob like it was yesterday. I cried after the phone call because I'd realised on how badly of a situation I was in at that point. But I took one of the biggest massive nugget off that phone call because I was just about to submit a tender for $2.2 million commercial building in Seymour. And Rob asked me what I was charging. I was saying I was charging, I think it was 12% markup I think I had on the job. And Rob's like, mate, that's way too low. You got to get that up. Should be up around 17, 18. Literally just went straight in. And I still didn't know the difference at this point between markup and margin at this point either. So I was in Buildings Act at the time. Buildings Act doesn't do margin, so it was still markup. So I just took what I grabbed off that phone call and moved my number up to 17% markup still, and did really well out of that job. I think that 2021 year we made was an uptick. So that was 20. I think it must have got into leverage half sort of in the middle of 2020 COVID. Did leverage through 2020, I'd say. And then when I got into lifestyle, I probably got into, when now thinking about it now with you having launched leverage and lifestyle, probably got into lifestyle too early because I think the first 12 months I was still trying to work out and implement stuff from leverage. I think, that was the start of the journey.
What did you feel like coming in? Just talk us through. I remember leverage because when I came on, you were just going through there and it became my training video. So I sort of felt I knew you before I knew anyone else in the business, that crew. So how were you feeling going through that? Was it a natural, I'm on my way and this is going to help me? Or was it literally I'm feeling like I'm a mile behind and where am I at? Like, was it a course correct at that point? Or was it just literally a face the facts in terms of shit, where am I and what the hell is this world I've walked into now?
Well, the feeling I had when I first started, the feeling I had when I got into lifestyle, even though I felt like a very small fish in a massive pond, I knew that was the place I needed to be. But let's go back to leverage. When I started working through leverage, I just was so overwhelmed with how much I didn't know. I didn't know how much I didn't know, and I was like, was a lot, and I was only just grabbing things. Obviously I've been in for a while now, but you only grab things that are relevant to you at that point, and that's where you grab the nuggets. So obviously the pain points I had at that point, they're all the things I was grabbing onto and implementing. So if there was, it's obviously coaching and business it's a long game. So but going through leverage, it was just a huge shift to like, right, these are the people that are going to get me to where I need to get to. But obviously at that point, I didn't think how long that journey was going to take either. And when I probably got into coaching, I probably thought it was all just about, right, this is going to be it. I'm going to make a whole heap of money here. But quickly realised that coaching wasn't about making money. Coaching was about personal development, and that's what really got me excited and I enjoyed that part of the self-development part.
Especially for a builder, the journey always takes longer for a builder because, like where you started, I remember our first call, and because you were like, when I asked you about your pricing, you're like, oh, I'm charging 10 or 12% markup. I'm like, mate, you got to be at like 15 to 20% margin, not even markup. And even that one shift for you was a game changer. Like that completely. I remember you texted me after that going, Rob, that just broke my world, and that's the best thing I've ever heard. And so even that one distinction, but for builders, the journey is always longer because the time from making a change to actualizing that change takes so long. Like for you to be you were lucky that you were able to get that learning around pricing and just sneak it in on a new job that you were going to be doing. But if you were just quoting a job, the gestation period from starting a quote to landing the quote to getting on site can sometimes be 6 or 12 months. And that's why the change process for a builder is for so long. But luckily for you in that early phases, you're able to get in and start making such a big change to your pricing already, which was, and I can understand why you got so emotional after that call, is because you finally had the realization is now I know why we're growing, but why we're growing broke and why we're losing money and why we're not making the money that we want, because it's almost like you finally had the answers, the start of the answers, wasn't it?
Yeah, the start of the answers. It's pretty wild to think back of what I was actually doing at that point. And I wasn't running a business. I was just still a chippy at that point, trying to figure it out. Yeah. If I make a change today, I'm not going to see them for 12 to 18 months. We spoke about that probably back in 22, 23. Before I did make all that change, it took 12 months for me to get it. Yeah.
Did early days coaching, you talk about you found out what you didn't know and it was all a new world, doors were opening up and it was like, holy shit, this is mind-blowing. Did that dent your confidence, do you think, or did that fuel the flame? Like where did you land on that spectrum of I'm now on the back foot and who am I to have this success? Or was it literally I'm on my path and let's gallop towards this thing? Was it a slow burn or a quick burn?
No, I think even with coaching, and I vividly remember Rob pulling me and Tom Haydock up at one point, but when I got into coaching, especially into lifestyle and kind of found my feet a little bit and got comfortable with everyone, I probably just thought it was just going to happen. I thought, I've got coaching now, this is all just going to happen. And I didn't put the work in. And I definitely didn't put the work in. And I didn't know, going and thinking about it now, like, and we'll talk about this probably soon when we go through the whole identity shift, but certain things weren't showing up because I hadn't gone through I hadn't done the work yet, and I wasn't doing the work. I'd say one thing and do another, pretty much. This is what I did that for 12 months and just thought. And actually, when Rob pulled us up, Tom and I were having a conversation in the corner up in Brisbane, and we were just complaining and pointing at external factors why certain things were still going on in our world. And Rob was up and says, fucking you two, you've been saying the exact same thing for the last 12 to 18 months. Start doing the work. Just follow the process. And it's like, that stuck with me. And then that I think probably wasn't the start of it, but it was definitely him saying that. It got to me. It got to me.
Why did that conversation hit you so much? Because I remember that conversation. We was at dinner, over a client dinner, and there was a few more you said it in a nice way. I was pretty direct with you boys, but why did that hit you so much in that moment?
I just think because I was watching the guys around me excel. I was watching the guys around me in coaching, like fucking doing awesome things, and I was like, "Fuck, enough's enough." Like, it's obviously coaching is quite a investment, and I was getting a lot out of it personally, but I wasn't in business. Like I was learning so much off the guys just around personal development and family, and I was always just getting so much inspiration from the team, from all the other guys. But yeah, I just think that conversation was like, fuck, like something's got to change. Otherwise, it's not going to change. I'll be here for another 2 years, and probably off the back of that was just watching some of the guys, especially Simon Barker and Aaron Miller and Ahmad, just watching their stories, watching what they were doing, and just I just had to step up at some point.
Did you ever get to a point where you felt like walking away from it? Because I remember like watching your journey. There was times where it was like, is this guy into this? Is he going to hang here? What's going to happen? Like no one could see what was going to happen. But where was your head at through all of this?
There was definitely a point, and it might have been end of 22 or 23, especially it might have been 20, or it must have been 23, because 23 was the year of the mess. We just made another fairly big loss for the financial year. I'm just like, fuck this. I'm going to wind things down. I was going to wind things down, and go to a smaller team and just really consolidate. And I was actually in Rochester, and Rob rang me up at the Admiral Field Days, and Rob rang me, and I was saying, I'm going to sell home, bank the cash and dial things down. And he's like, no, you're not selling your house. You've just finished it. It's a beautiful place, and you got to remember that you've fucked a goose that lays a golden egg. And I mean, I was ripping money out of the business to pay for stuff at home, and I was just had cash flow problems just all the time. He goes, "How about you just start making profit?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's a good point. How about I do that?" Pretty much. Yeah, so that was a bit of a shift after that conversation too. Yeah.
So these nudges that have happened along the way obviously get to a point where there's a shift coming. There's a point where you've had enough. The coaches that are around you are all pointing you in that direction. Does it happen? What gives after all of that? Like, at what point did you reach this moment where there was obviously a decision to be made at some point? Talk us through where you got to in this sort of phase of time.
Well, 2023 was the year. 2023 was the year of the mess. I had team culture problems halfway through the year, which took a fairly big hit. I had to get rid of. I got rid of 3 guys out of my team, 3 senior people too. That was a hard thing for me to work through, and I was still just spread way too thin. I hadn't delegated. I had a lot of work. I hadn't delegated on site, so jobs were just getting pushed out. Schedules just getting blown out, and we got up to probably in October 2023. I realised I was going to hit a cash crunch, and because 2 jobs were just being pushed out. One job out of our control. We had joinery problems, and we lost the cut-off date for Christmas in November, sorry. And then a job got pushed out, and probably about $1.2 million worth of claims got pushed into the next year. And at that point, I had massive cash flow problems as well, because I was on stage claims, not monthly claims. During 2023 as well, I had job management. I didn't have a job management system set up properly. I was jumping between Buildings Act and NextVia, and just like I had this trait of I've always just wanted these shiny apps and dashboards, and just didn't use the tools that were in front of me. So I went through whole 2023 with no job management system. It was just a bit of a mess. And we got to so in November, I could see that I was going to run out of money in December, these claims. I didn't have any business savings at this point either, and I had to borrow $100,000 off my dad, which was a fucking hard thing to do, to go to him and say, actually, I borrowed $100,000, but also this is the second $100,000 I borrowed off him, because I had to borrow $100,000 off him in 2022 when the floods hit, 2021 or 20 when the floods hit, because again didn't have business savings, and was wet for like 3 months, and our progress claims just kept getting pushed out, and I still had to pay the boys. And when I borrowed that first $100,000, just to go back a little bit, when I borrowed that first $100,000, I thought in another month when I got those stage claims, I'd be able to pay him back. I said, I only need it for like 6 weeks, Dad. So he gave it to me. But once that money's gone, it's fucking gone. Like, it's just not there. And then I literally had to pay, I was naive to think that I actually had to pay that $100,000 back from profit. I wasn't making profit at that point either. So, so here I am in December 2023, got a baby on the way, $200,000 owed to my dad. And over that Christmas, that was tough. I was like, this is just shit. This is just not working for me. And when I borrowed that second $100,000, now I owe $200,000. I felt so sick in the stomach. It felt like the biggest failure. And I do remember actually I got up early one morning. I had a shower down the other end of the house, so Beck didn't wake up. And I looked at myself. I actually looked, when you say you've got to look yourself in the mirror, I actually looked at myself in the mirror. I said, you can't fuck this up. You're not going to fuck this up. And that was the sort of the process I went through. I looked back at the year had gone, and I took all the shit that had just gone wrong with the team, how I managed the jobs, like lots of things were going wrong as well. And I just took every time someone said this has gone wrong, I said, okay, how can we do it better next time? So I just looked at all the things that were going wrong. I wrote them all down on a bit of paper. And I looked at it over the Christmas break, and I was like, right, this is what I'm going to do when we come back. So as soon as we come back in 2024, sat the boys down and told them the situation. So I was vulnerable with them, told them where I was at and where we were at. And I realigned my site boys. I brought Alex and Geordie and Huey at that point into a site manager role, and got really clear in their PD, and got them humming on site. I set management meetings. I introduced pre-construction agreements and getting paid to do quotes. I put an estimator on in November 2023, which is, so he was kicking off, and I had no money for this guy either. So got him dialed in at the start of 2024 because I just didn't have the time to do the estimating. I had a massive pipeline as well at that point. And then I had to look for myself. So that was the start of it.
Do you think, was this you doing what you knew you should have all along? Was it a moment of that, or was it a moment of, holy crap, I figured this out? Like, or was there a realization that this is all on me at this point? You've talked about all the things you did with other people on your team and in the business, but how much of it was you really just starting to accept the fact that you'd probably not done what you should have already?
No, I still didn't know at that point. I still didn't know what I had to do personally. It took a little bit for me to kind of nut that out.
Were you still Grant the tradie at that time, or were you Grant the business owner but just not very good just yet?
Nah, I think, like, I was obviously off the tools. I was off the tools at that point, but I wasn't a business owner. I wasn't running a business. I still didn't have that wasn't me. And I realised that I had the identity was that identity, how I see myself, was a big problem. Like, I was still wearing, so that's why I wear a white t-shirt now. I thought, actually, but how I thought I was going to fix the identity shift was just if I just change my top and I wear different clothes on site. The boys actually didn't pick me up on this, but I did. I just went and bought some white tops, and I took inspiration out from Rensis actually, because I seen him getting around in black jeans and black boots and a black skivvy, and he looked very polished. He looked like a businessman, but I don't think I would pull off a black skivvy, but like he does. But I just thought the identity was just going to be if I just show up differently and look different, then that would change. But that wasn't it.
Where did that different conversation in the mirror, when you had the share up the other end, you had that different conversation? How was that conversation different compared to the conversations you and Tom were having at the restaurant 12 to 18 months earlier?
Well, I had to just really evaluate myself, why certain things were showing up in my world and why the wheels weren't hitting the tar. Like, I just wasn't getting traction. I just wasn't getting traction with the tools. There was no consistency in what I was doing. I'd work on the cash flow of the pipeline planning for like 2 weeks, but nothing was ingrained. And then actually Beck pulled me up one night. She's like, "Why do you never just show up to our financial meetings? You know, like when we've still got problems. Like you show up to your project management meetings or managements with Peru." And I was like, it's a good question. Like, why do I always just skip those meetings? And I was like, I show up to the project management meetings or the meetings with the guys because that's my comfort. Like I knew that inside out. It was my bread and butter. But showing up to a financial meeting with Beck, I didn't have the answers, and I didn't know the number. I didn't know what I was talking about. So that's why I was just kept kicking the can down the road. And I just kept sort of looking within, and I put on my feedback forms I put to Steve. I said, we need to have a chat about my mindset. And that's all I wrote. I looked at it this morning, and we get on the call. He goes, and this was after one of the masterminds. We were talking about mindset and values and all the rest of it. And he goes, so what's going on? I said, and we just started unpacking things, and we're talking about beliefs. Yeah, beliefs. I mean, it must have been after the January mastermind, sorry, talking about beliefs, the belief system. And we started just unpacking that, and he goes, what do you think it is? And I said, to be honest, mate, I just don't think I'm smart enough to do what I'm doing. And he goes, why do you feel like that? And we had probably 2 sessions just talking about my mindset and my belief system, and he got me to change my language, and that was the start. that was it, actually. I just had to start looking at myself differently and talking to my subconscious mind, what I said to myself in my mind. I had to start changing the language. And the tip that he gave me was, it's not that I'm not smart enough. I'm on the way, and I just don't have all the tools yet. So he found a really bad trait that I had was about, always wanting the best apps and all these dashboards and all that kind of stuff. And he goes, he pointed that out to me. He goes, how about you just focus on the stuff that you've got now and just start using the tools that you got? I'm like, yeah, okay. So I did that and worked really hard, just getting consistently, just using the tools that I had and accepting that. And he also, another thing that he pulled me up on in the start of that 2024 was my money spending habits and my relationship with money. Had a very consumable mindset and make money, spend money sort of thing. And he goes, you haven't earned the right to spend. Beck pulled me up on it too, so both of them did. It was like they had a little conversation behind the scenes, and they both hit me like at once, just with me and my spending. So the wallet went in the bin for a fair while, and I fixed definitely between then and July. My money spending habits definitely fixed itself. But yeah, that was the start of the shift. That conversation and just owning up to it, I guess.
And this is the problem, and this is the thing with change, is that for the 18 months to 2 years prior, and the reason why I pulled you and Tom up in that moment and why it resonated with you the most is because when you were looking at there, you're always looking at external factors. Well, this is the reason. You were blaming, you were justifying, you were looking at things outside of you around why the problems were existing. But, and this is the thing about change, is for things to change, first you must change. You've got to make a choice to make a change. And that time in November, and some people make change when they hit rock bottom. And that's where you hit in November in 2023. You'd hit rock bottom when you had that realization where you're off the back of another loss. You had to borrow another 100 grand off your dad. You looked yourself in the mirror and said, this is my last roll of the dice. I've got to make this work. Some people make change when they're not on rock bottom. They're going okay. They just want to get better. But when things aren't going right for people, the thing that most people do is that they justify why it is, and they look to external things around why things aren't going right. And that's what you were doing for so long. But can you see, mate, that conversation you had in that mirror that day, that was the first point in change, because you started taking ownership for who Grant was, how Grant was showing up, and the results Grant was getting in his life. Can you see that?
Yeah, Grant, his personal life, Grant with his money habits, Grant with his relationship, Grant with how I was showing up to work, how I was talking to my guys, how I was delegating, everything that was, all the problems that were happening in the business, I took complete ownership of it. I think in that, and I made it very clear to the guys that I was taking ownership of it. I said, look, I'm not blaming anyone for where we're at here. This is all me. But I said, this is what we're going to do to change it. And it's going to start with this. And I just kind of mapped it out a little bit. And then we got after it. Yeah. But, and I still made it. I still made a loss in that. So all this change that we had, I still made a loss in 2024. It didn't really start to come to fruition for another 8 months later.
If you're listening to this today and you're not happy with the results that you're getting in any area of your life, the easy thing to do is to blame others. It's the market's problem, the government's problem, your team's problem, the cultural problems of this. This is why at Pravar, one of our Pravar principles, the first Pravar principles is face the facts. You've got to face the facts in terms of where you're at in your business and life. And if you take anything from Grant's story so far, is if you're not happy with something's going on in your world, maybe you've got to grow a set and have a good hard look at yourself in the mirror and have a conversation with yourself and take some ownership around what's the good, the bad, and the ugly in your world, because that conversation, like with Grant, will be I just know it will be the turning point in your life if you A, have the conversation, B, take ownership for it, and C, start to take some steps to make some changes. And that's what you did from that point onwards, wasn't it, Grant? Things then started to move forward for you. You're now halfway through 2024, and this was now when you were really starting to make changes, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think let's add ABCD. I think the D on that should be speaking about it. You need to speak up about it. I think that was probably another thing, because I didn't just keep it in my subconscious mind. And then because I spoke out about it, I spoke to the group about it, spoke to my coaches about it, there was no sweeping under the rug. Like you can always talk to yourself in your mind. And then if you don't I made myself accountable by talking about it, because I said it to the guys, and then there was no coming back, because otherwise you can say it's just like going to the gym. Oh, I'm going to go to the gym today. If you don't go, well, then no one yells at you because you can tell anyone.
Correct. Because if you don't speak about it, it's easy to bullshit yourself that there's not a problem. But you're right, speaking up about it kind of makes it real, doesn't it?
Yeah, it did make it very real. Yeah.
Talk us through that, Grant. I mean, we call the D for declaration, if you like, that you made this declaration around who this new Grant was going to be. And for many of the guys in the group, it was the first time they'd ever heard you speak that way, see you that way. You might have been living that way for 6 months as you went through the mirror moments, and you've gone through that realization with beliefs and sort of grinded away at that for a while and starting to groove this new version of Grant. But when you made that declaration that day, first of all, talk us through it, and then maybe we can break down what that felt like. What was it? And just explain to everyone what you actually did.
So the declaration was at the Gold Coast Mastermind, and it was off the back of my wins for the last financial year in review. And I've got my wins here that I've from my weekly feedback form from the 1st of July 2024, just before we went to the Gold Coast. I'll read out to you. It goes, finished off the new year on a good note, even though we're still in the red. I've taken a heap of learnings from all the challenges from last year and I've implemented these in the last 6 months. And gee, what a turnaround I'm seeing. Margin management is in play, improving weekly, not at all last year. As much as I hate to say it, I needed to feel proper pain and serious challenge before I was going to see change, before I was going to change. I'm operating my team much more efficiently and have unlocked hidden potential within. My leadership and mindset is improving month on month. I'm happy to have the difficult conversation when I have always swept shit under the rug. Their quoting is pushing margins has improved by 5 to 7% overall. I can say I've got complete confidence in these margins and I've added an additional 4% for our site management fees on an overall project cost. I know our business is going to do backflips in the coming months. We're signing a contract on a $1.2 million build later in the week at 25% margin. Again, this has been achieved by selling clients on quality and service and not price. I've broken the glass ceiling and beliefs around what I can charge and should be charging. Huge shift from where I was 12 months ago from charging 17% markup. And I finish off by saying the product is worth what the market will pay.
And that's a world away from where you were.
That was not even in contention. I had not even in anywhere. Yeah. So that was just before we went to Gold Coast. That's why I screenshot it and brought it with me today because makes me feel super proud, I guess. And that belief system, as that's the mind now that I've got. I'm a way different person when I show up every day. I speak differently. Even the conversations I've had with other guys, it's just different conversations, like I'm always talking about or trying to help. Like I'm just trying to help other guys too. When other trades ring me and they're talking about a bunch of a shit show their thing setup is, and I can see myself just falling into like a mini coach sort of thing and just kind of helping them, not giving me too much info, but just kind of help them through it. So that's just come from mindset and the confidence I've built around that too. Like I've got confidence in my belief system and the confidence what I can achieve personally, regardless of the business.
So the beliefs there now, it goes from being an internal belief in this new version of you into a public declaration, like we said. So what happened on the public declaration? Where did it go from there? You've written all this out. You've got to that point. You've done your review. I'm ready. And then all of a sudden, in a flash of madness or motivation, you come up with this declaration.
When I stood up and said it in front of the team, I did it because I was actually scared. I was scared that I was going to stuff it up. The scenes were set. At the Gold Coast, the scenes were set. I had contracts locked away, and we're going to be starting them in September after July. And I had to do it just to make sure that I wasn't going to stuff up the next 12 months. So I did it again as just another cog of speaking up about it, and I made sure I actually did it. Because if I said it in front of the group and I didn't get the results, once I said it, there was no turning back. Like it just kept going.
Do you want to set the scene, Rob? I can remember it like it was yesterday because I think I was standing up too far away.
We'd just been out on an epic boat trip, Yacht 75 out on the water. We'd just come back. We pulled up at port, and we were all saying our congratulations and thank yous. And all of a sudden, I think you must have been standing next to Coach Steve, and you said, "I want to say something." And Steve's like, "Well, go on then, go up and say something." And you stood up on something, I can't remember what it was, and you just blurted it. It was some crate, and you blurted it out, didn't you?
Do you remember what you said?
Nah, I remember saying thanks to Rob, but not for word for word. No.
I remember you saying, "This is going to be my year, and I'm going to win an award next year."
Well, there you go. Actually, no, I do remember saying that now. And after that, and I said it even at the awards this year in at Hamilton Island, I manifested the award every single day. like I would think about it, and I just said to myself after watching the boys, Andy Clyde and Phil Dawes win the awards they won, I was like, I'm getting after that. I'm getting after that next year. I'm gonna get it. So I did it. I did it just to back myself in, and because I did have confidence at that point, but was also nervous to make sure I delivered it. And when we come back, the first conversation after the awards weekend with Steve was, I told him that I was nervous and I didn't want to stuff it up. I said, what do I have to do in coaching to make sure I don't let this go? And we set weekly pass marks that I had to do every single week. And I said, I just need to know what the minimum amount of work that I need to do just to make sure that I've got a grip on things. And we did some work around that, setting weekly pass marks around the pipeline plan and the cash flow and budget reviews and all that kind of stuff. And that's what it was that really, that's how I got traction. I got the tires started hitting the road at that point.
So to put you out of your suspense, we've flirted around a little bit. We've spoken around awards and all those types of things. For you listening here today, Grant won our Breakthrough Award for 2025 in Hamilton Island. So this is 12 months down the line from this declaration. So the breakthrough started, if we can start piecing this together, the breakthrough moment started in November of 2023 and into Christmas. That was borrowing the money, having the shower, the looking in the mirror, the taking the ownership and starting to make some changes. The changes first started in January to June. The 1st of July was that win and the reflection on the year that's been. We had our awards event for 2024 in Gold Coast in July, at the end of July, start of August 2024. He made the declaration, and this year in 2025, he won the Breakthrough Award. And that Breakthrough Award is to recognise that one client who has had the greatest breakthrough in the 12 months prior. So let's piece all this together. And Grant won that because there was a number of areas that you had a breakthrough. There was a breakthrough in business-wise. There was a breakthrough in your leadership. There was a breakthrough in your mindset. And they were the three categories that got you that award. And so, mate, talk us through to begin with. It went mindset, leadership, then business, because they all went in that order. And so looking back over in that 12 months of the 2025 financial year, what was the biggest mindset breakthroughs that you had in that period? You've obviously spoken around belief so far. So ownership and belief were two of them. What other areas in your mindset do you think you had a big breakthrough in?
Consistency. I had consistency. Yeah. Yeah. From July, when coming back from after that weekend, I was so dialed in. There was nothing that was going to get in the way. Like I was really putting a lot of focus in my week and where I was prioritising my time, and there was no, like I wouldn't get, if I had to go to site, like it was a plan to go to site, I wouldn't just go, I'll go to site on Monday. Like I got a lot of structure around my week, and I prioritised my time really, really well, and I didn't let anyone take that away from me. But it's just the consistency would probably be a massive one. Yeah, I just had to get laser focused. Yeah, that was huge.
The success leaves clues there. It's the taking the ownership, the belief that it's possible, and the consistency of execution. There are three big areas from a mindset point of view. Talk us through where you had the breakthrough in your leadership, as that was the big area where you stepped up and shone as a leader. What was that change in you, and how did you notice that your leadership really went to another level?
Well, it just started by getting really clear on the guys' position descriptions and then holding them accountable. Like I didn't have clear position descriptions for my main boys, and then had consistently one-on-one meetings with the site managers, and then again with the team. So monthly team reviews, and then I was having weekly site manager reviews as well. Just talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, what went well, how can we improve, and just that constant feedback loop. That really got the team like humming on site, and made sure we're hitting revenue targets too. Like it's all good and well having a big pipeline, but you're still running sloppy on site. Doesn't matter how good your numbers are, you're not going to get the results. So Our sites tightened up. The guys were taking accountability on site with the schedule, when materials were ordered. I had Peru dialed in on managing margin as well at that point. Like, I dropped the mates sort of thing, and I had sort of dropped a little bit of the, the relationship with always using mates, being loyal to them. Sorry. I went out to market and found cheaper sub trades because I was just profit focused at that point. And like, if I could find a cheaper supplier or whatever, we went and did it. And Prue's game then was as well. If it was her role, so she just went out and sent it to market, and she'd find $2,000 here and $3,000 here, and but I think really the consistency around those meetings with the site guys, and then the whole team monthly, I wasn't doing that before. So, and we talk about labour, we talk about site diaries, we talk about who's doing what, who's what challenges did we have on site last week, and that's a rhythm now, but that's what it was. That was another big, just the consistency all the way, the whole loop, I would say.
Isn't it interesting that, and we say in coaching all the time that the fish rots from the head down, and isn't it interesting that the problems that you were having within your team were just really a reflection upon yourself? And it wasn't until you took ownership for that situation and became consistent within yourself and held yourself to a higher standard and higher levels of accountability. Isn't it interesting that started to become the culture of Hateley Construct? Like, this is the thing that just became the norm. And it wasn't because all of a sudden they changed. They changed because you changed, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Even thinking about now, back September, I think it was October, we did $1 million month. Like, wow. But that was not because we had a lot of work on. That was because we had a plan, and we spoke about the plan before we executed it. Like, I knew we were going to hit $1 million month 6 weeks earlier. So now, like, a general practice for us now is I'm going to do it tomorrow. Start of this month, we're going to reflect on the revenue we did last month, and then I go through all our projects and I draft all our invoices to know what our revenue is going to be, and then I put it all up on the whiteboard, and then everyone knows what they have to do, execute for that month, so we hit that revenue. That was probably another big thing back in the earlier years before this last 12 months has gone. I never really put any emphasis on revenue. Like, we've got all these. We have, let's talk about revenue for me. 2021 was like 2.4, and then I did about 3.5. Then 2023, we did 5.5, which we actually made a profit that year. Then 2024 did 3.8. I was meant to hit 5.5 million that year and did 3.8, and that wasn't because I didn't have work. It was because we put no emphasis around what revenue we're hitting, and we just go to work rather than having a plan. There was no plan back then.
And 2025?
2025, 7.5.
And you can see the change there. And this is the business breakthrough that you had, it came off the back of the mindset change. It came off the back of the leadership change. And this was the business breakthrough that you had. You took things to a whole new level, and the results really started showing then. So talk us through your business breakthrough that you had in that 12-month period in the business front that brought all this together. Talk us through that.
The revenue come from planning. Like, there was, I had the pipeline, but then I put the people were in the right positions at that point. We were managing them very, very tightly. We were doing monthly. I was all over the budgets, still am all over the budgets, and I just had my finger on the pulse all the way. They didn't come off for 1 month. So that was huge, just around what projects we're working on to get the revenue. Like I said, in using the pipeline planner, like, that's the most unutilized tool in one of our Pravar tools was the pipeline planner. Like, I was in that probably every second day, every single week. And before that, I'd maybe opened every quarter at reviews. But so the pipeline planner was a massive part that gave us direction, I guess, and kept us on point. Because if we didn't hit target, then I knew we had to try and say if we didn't hit target by $100,000, I had to find that 100 grand somewhere else, you know. Like even just to kind of fast forward a little bit, like this quarter just gone, we're meant to hit 850 in July, hit 430, like this massive behind. I'm not going to get that back till January, Feb. You know, that loss. It's going to take me that many months to get that $400,000 back. So then we can get back in the green and make sure we hit revenue target for the next 12 months. So I'd never had any, game plan around what revenue we're hitting for the months and putting any focus around that. So revenue, we hit the $7.5 million revenue last year because I put a lot of emphasis around that and made sure we were focusing on the right jobs at the right time and putting people labor in the right spots. And then, just the people in the right spots as well. Then the net profit just showing up. But I like money spending. I wasn't just buying shit if I didn't need it. I didn't even go buy. I wouldn't have spent over $500 on clothes for myself the whole last 12 months. You know what I mean? Like, just didn't buy anything unless I had the money for it. So, but it was everything, Rob. It was everything. It wasn't just one thing. It was I had to fix not fix. Nothing's all fixed still now, but I had to be actively working on improving every part every month.
You recently got some recognition at the Master Builders Award. Talk us through those awards that you achieved recently.
Yeah, so we won. We put 2 projects. I've never put projects forward for Master Builders, but this year we did, and we took away Best Custom House 2 million plus was the open, I guess, and we got special commendation for 1 million plus custom home. But the Dalhousie North project, the 2 million plus project that we won, took us to, I guess we then won Northern Regional Builder of the Year for our area. So we're actually going down to Melbourne next week for the state awards, which will be that's a Crown back to our event. So went splashed out on a really nice tuxedo last week, and I was actually going to put that in my wins that I splashed out and put a really flash suit, and I felt good about it, and I didn't feel bad about spending money.
2025 financial year was the year of recognition for you. You won awards at Master Builders. You won the Breakthrough Award at Pravar. You hit a record revenue, record net profit. But there was no mistake why you got that recognition, and it was off the back of 12 to 18 months of consistency and commitment to doing what you said you were going to do. And mate, we're so proud of you for the results you've achieved, and I know you're going to back it up again this year, because I always say to clients, one good year doesn't impress me. You back up a few, and that's what impresses me. And I know that's stuck with you a lot, because it's and you want to show that you can do it again, and I know you will. But mate, hasn't it been a big 18 months for you? It's been a breakthrough for Grant, hasn't it?
Yeah, it just feels really nice not to say I've got cash flow problems. If I could have $1 million or say, I actually said this, if I could decide between not having cash flow problems or $1 million, I'd rather just not have cash flow problems. So that's been it's just like especially now having a young family, it's nice it's nice at home now. Yeah, things are a lot different.
How is family life with a house full of girls?
Yeah, it's been a journey, and just to give everyone a bit of context, Lainey's 19 months and Hazel's 5 months, so they're 15 months apart, so nice and close. But it's good. Weekends are quiet now. I'm not outside trying to work and or work even on the property that our homes are all completed. So it's just quiet weekends now, and I'm happy just to sit and do nothing.
Do nothing. I love it. No chance.
I do actually. I don't do nothing, but I'm usually a busy person. I struggle. Like Beck hates this about me, but my nature is I just can't sit still. Like I I'm usually I find something to do, go mow the lawn or go cut some grass or something like that. So yeah, so it's nice just to hang out for a bit.
Nice. Grant, before we let you go, there's one story I'd love to hear. I don't think I've heard you tell it, but I am aware of it. We've talked and you were open enough to tell us about the bank of DAD earlier on in the journey and where you got to. You've since paid all of that back, but the way you did that and what it meant to you to have that occasion of how you did it and what you did, would love it if you'd be willing to share with us what that was like that day that you finally paid it all back.
Yeah, so I actually had the plan to pay it back by the end of the financial year. This just gone, but we paid it. I was paying $10,000 a week back, and I paid it back faster than that. I paid it. I had it all paid back by April, so I didn't start paying it back till about September 2024. Yep, September 24 when we started making profit quickly. Yeah, paid $215,000 back in and all ATO debt plus, and I've just kept that $10,000 I was paying back. That money still comes out and goes into another account. So that was huge, and just for me and for Beck as well. Like Beck was tapped out in 2023; she'd had enough. So just to pay that back, and she just wanted us to stand on our own 2 feet. So that day, then when we did pay that, it was massive. It was such a weight off my shoulders, and that's probably the day that I felt like a businessman. After that day, after I paid that debt back, I'm like, yeah, I've got this now. And we've got very, very minimal business debt at the moment, very, very minimal. So for a company of our size, even the last 12 months, I bought Alex a ute, brand new ute, work ute, just paid cash for it, didn't have to borrow money. So yeah, things are a lot different now. We're focusing on wealth creation. We've just bought into a commercial property, which is a big step for us. And building the cash reserves, like that's the exciting part now. We've got a big goal to get to by Christmas to get our cash reserve, to have that pillar ticked before we can start, before I've earned the right to go play outside the business. So I'm being very conscious of not sticking to the process. So I'm very, very aware of that, and also very aware of not becoming complacent. I'm probably right now in this little phase that I've got right now. I've got to have a bit of a shift, and I've been working with this with Steve, the coach. And a lot of guys do this in coaching. They have such a big win and then they fall off. So, and I'm probably, not that I'm falling off, but I need to readjust, because the last 12 months, all I was focused about was just getting that financial year done and see how we went. And then now I've got to realign my goals and my vision and what we're doing for the next 12 months. I'm working through that at the moment. I haven't got that. I don't know what that looks like yet, but it's exciting. Yeah, it's exciting. I don't know I do know where we're going to get to. I've got some big goals, revenue wise and NP wise. But in between now and Christmas, me, Gleason and I need to do a lot of work on what I'm getting after right now to keep me focused and just make sure we keep pushing. I keep pushing. Yeah.
Second Pravar principle: never settle.
Never settle. And I was very wary of that. Straight after it happened, I was like, mate, you even look at my roadmap for the year, it was all up to Q2, and then Q3 and 4 was empty. So, well, what we're working on now which is a lot of work, is building systems inside the business, working with systemology to build better systems before we can grow. I'm very aware that if I can't bring in another $2-3 million into the business now with the structure that we've got, like, yes, there's lots to improve, but it's got to get dialed in a lot. I've got to get a lot tighter. I've got to tighten those screws up a lot more before we bring in a lot of revenue. Yeah.
I love it. Sounds like Grant, the business owner, is fully in the house. I love a good transformation story, Rob.
Yeah, it's pretty epic. It's such a breakthrough, and yeah, mate, we're super stoked for you. And yeah, your speech in Hamilton Island and the acceptance of your award was it was heartfelt, mate, and very touching. And I think it's you're an inspiration, mate. You really are, and you're an inspiration. I feel inspired by your story, and I know that just the guys in the community, just you inspire them as well, and it just shows what happens when you face the facts, take ownership, and make a declaration for a real commitment to make change. And it's a testament to you, mate. You could have kept spinning your wheels and blaming everyone else, but it's amazing that what happens when you put your stake in the ground and say, oh, why not me? And that's what happens is it's why not me? And you made it happen. So yeah, we're proud of you, mate, and thanks for sharing your story today.
Yeah. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Dan. Also, I think just speaking about it, I think anyone that's listening, first step is just to speak about it out loud, get it out of your head, talk to your partner, talk to, if you've got a business coach or whatever it may be. But I think that, and I didn't realise that declaration that I made at Gold Coast, the effect that had on other guys. Like they brought it up at Hamo when Dawsey said, and Foster was also as well. Like, I didn't realise just me doing that, what it did to them, what it did for them. So I think just speaking about it would be the start for anyone else that's listening.
If you're in that position where you need to make change and you don't know where to start, but you need to take some ownership around that and do want to speak to someone, then jump across to strategysession.com.au and get the process started. Book in a call with a time that suits both of us. Let's have a conversation around where you're at and where you're trying to go. If we feel that we can help you, let's keep the conversation going and see if coaching with Pravar Group is the right fit for you. Grant, thanks so much for coming in today. We really appreciate it. And Dan, should we leave it there?
I think so. Great place, Dan. Thanks so much, mate, for coming in.
Appreciate it, guys. Cheers.